Hey, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to the show this week. It's going to be a fun show, and it's going to be our last show of the year, so we're going to be getting into a lot of crazy, fun discussion topic stuff. Our main topic tonight is shooting Christmas. We mean with a camera, because the other way has been done, and we don't need to go there.
Yeah, if that's a trigger warning for anybody, we live in Canada. That's not what we mean.
That's right. Thank you for clarifying. This week, as always, we have our awesome co-hosts, Gabriel Bousquet and Phil Zoratto. Gabe, how has your day been?
Don't ask.
You just told me to ask you.
I had an awesome day. I had a very unexpected day. So it started off with me actually doing the final paperwork and buying my ticket for Tough Mudder 2016, which I'm crazy excited about.
Which we agreed to do with you.
Yes, we did.
Yes, well, and I will send you the link, and we you know what? Let's do it after the show. I'll send you the link, and we can all sign up. Doing it Saturday, September the 10th, I think, at 10 o'clock or 10 or 11 o'clock in the morning, and it's going to be awesome. And then went to a buddy of mine's for beer last night, and all kind of had a spur-of-the-moment thing, and now we're all going to Vegas in February, and I'm going to be in Vegas for my 40th birthday.
That's awesome.
Very cool.
So you can imagine how much I'm vibrating about that.
Yeah,
so there's 8 of us going down there. Each one of us is dumber than the next, and it's going to be awesome.
I'm imagining it, and it's making me fearful.
That'd be fun. There's a movie about that, right?
Yeah. You ain't seen nothing yet.
Well, on a roof. You're not going to be borrowing my GoPro to record it, so should be fun for you.
Remember it that way.
Yeah, you tried that once before. Okay, Phil, how's your week been?
It's been pretty good. It seems to have disappeared a lot faster than I thought it was going to. Last thing I remember, it was Monday morning, so I'm not complaining. I like when time goes by quickly.
Interesting.
Yeah, but it's going. It's good.
Cool. Well, I'm in knees deep in Christmas rush right now, or lack thereof.
What do you mean?
Oh, no, really?
Oh. It's been slow. I mean, there's no snow, so people don't feel motivated to go out and do Christmas. So in retail, in Canada especially, usually sales trigger when people see snow. And there hasn't been any. It's actually warm. I could almost wear a T-shirt when I walk to work right now. So.
Driving down with my windows open tonight.
Oh man, it's just on one hand, some people would love the fact that we have warmer weather, but on the other hand, it kind of sucks for a lot of things. And I'm a snow guy. I love the snow. I love walking home and walking to work in the snow. Nothing makes me happier than putting on some headphones, putting up my hoodie, and just walking in the snow. I love it. So I'm really missing it, and I'm not feeling the whole Christmas vibe.
You'll get it. It's coming. There's a huge El Nino going on down south, and it's affecting us up here, and it'll come.
Yeah.
Well, I'll hold you to it. But that's actually cool because the main topic of our show right now is how to make fun Christmas photos when there is no snow.
Lots of powdered sugar.
Yeah, powdered sugar. I'm like, yeah, sure. No. Christine says, "Good luck with the Tough Mudder." She's done it twice.
Oh, awesome!
Wow. Well,
yeah, I'm one of those things I'm looking forward to, not looking forward to.
Well, I'm not that kind of guy. I've never done these kinds of things before, and I've always said, no, forget it, Gabe. I'm not doing this thing with you. That's silly. I mean, why would people run places when they can get there by walking? It doesn't make sense.
Or driving.
Or riding a bike even, right?
Yeah.
But,
I literally pulled beside people that are jogging and going, hey, are you in a rush? I can give you a ride. You know they make cars for this, right? I'm going faster than you. I'm hardly putting in any effort.
So yeah, now you're convincing us to do this running thing with you, which is great. But
it's been a lot of fun.
I've started eating better. I'm eating celery sticks and carrots and
that's awesome.
Fruits and all that kind of stuff. And I haven't had pop since last April. I'm very impressed by that.
That's really good.
That is really good to hear.
But it's not easy, especially somebody like me. I'm used to just pigging out. Yeah. I feel like Chinese food. I'm going to go have Mandarin and gorge myself. I can't do that anymore. You're getting a little older and things happen. But there's a lot of opportunity to eat at Christmas time, I'll tell you that. There's always big, huge dinners and, parties and stuff like that. So There's lots of cool stuff.
Actually, can we keep say 10 minutes at the end of the show to go over an absolutely amazing new feature that just came out with Google Photos, album sharing?
I think that
that'd be really useful for all the holiday pictures you're gonna take, pictures of turkeys, and of course then the food.
Not relatives. Yeah.
You can record your uncle making that awkward racist joke. They're gonna be there.
Oh dear.
There's always some family member that's old school, and you gotta put up with their old school sense of humor.
Yeah, kind of like when I went to church with somebody, and he's like, "Oh, you're great. You're a Jew, but I like you anyway." And like, yeah, that was fun.
Wow.
Gotta love cousins. Anyway, Andrew says, "Good evening, gentlemen. A little snow for Christmas would be nice, but then it can go away again."
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm quite happy to not have to get the snowblower going. I am the snowblower in this household. It takes a very long time to snowblow my driveway. It doesn't work that well. And my mom is watching, and for some reason she types Brian's mother. Hi, Mom. Brian's mother.
All right.
That's a great thing to type today.
In case you forgot.
Yeah, I don't think I would do that. My mom is awesome. Okay, so back to the show here. This time of year, so many people are trying to make photos of the holidays, and there's just so much to shoot, and there's usually snow, and it usually has all these really cool things we can talk about. Use the snow to bounce light up under people's chins if you're doing portraits, stuff like that. But we haven't got that, unfortunately. Now, what I love about Christmas is the spirit, the holidays. My mother is the nasty relative. No. No. My mother is not the nasty relative, although she's claiming to be, which is awkward.
I do also find it kind of odd that Don's okay without snow.
Well, he's got a database.
Good point.
Got a database of snowflakes he can go back to for next 10 years probably.
At least 365 days.
Yeah, at least he doesn't have to sit out in the cold and shoot them, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, he's got a whole refrigerated area in his house. In the corner, he's got Elsa tied up, and every time he needs a snowflake, he just, kind of unwraps a hand, she makes a snowflake, he pictures it, and then it's all done.
He pictures it.
He takes a picture of it.
Okay. For those of you who haven't watched our show before, we're talking about Don Komarechka and his amazing snowflake photos, which he's right in the middle of, or the starting end of his 100 snowflakes photo challenge, I guess you could say. Don, check it out, doncom.ca, cool stuff. And for all of you who are regulars and who understand what we're talking about, it's time to take a shot. We just said his name a couple times. Okay, so now, the thing about Christmas that I love is the spirit, the holiday vibe, how everybody enjoys being with family and having dinners, and you get to relax after a big rush. The thing I hate about Christmas is the commercialism, the in-your-face advertising. Have you guys noticed there's like 200 new annoying Christmas movies that have been made lately?
No, I seem to miss out on a lot of them because I don't have a TV. Well, I don't have cable. Let's start with that. I live in the
Netflix world, and yeah.
Well, I don't, and I'm married to an elf, so there's most ridiculous Christmas movies. We were watching one the other day. Even Shelley changed the channel. So
wow, that's got to be bad.
It's pretty bad, yeah.
Well,
so
even
anyway,
Trish mentioned the other day that she, like Jaden doesn't have that. You notice it with a lot of kids, and you notice when you were a kid, when you were young, there's always like 1,000 toys that you wanted at Christmas, and he's not coming up and like randomly screaming he wants this, he wants that, he wants this, he wants that. It's because his whole life is Netflix and YouTube. There's no commercials.
Yeah.
So he doesn't have that huge drive, and it's so refreshing. For him, there's a couple things that he wants for sure, but for him, I mean, he's looking more forward to having 2 weeks off school and hanging out with us than anything else.
Yeah. That's really good. It's getting back to spending more time with family as opposed to spending, less on spending time with family.
Exactly, yeah.
Well, I think that's the key.
Love is batteries not needed.
Oh, God. Is that our quote of the show?
I don't know. And threw up a bit in my mouth.
Yeah, just a bit. Wow. Well, okay, so with terrain so much different than normal, we can't really make the same kind of photos that we used to. We've done Christmas shows. So we've been doing the show now. I think we've done 2 other Christmas shows, or maybe even 3 in the time we've been doing the show. And it's always related to snow. It's always related to using that environment. And heck, I mean, we've even done shows at Christmas time where we talk about how Google Plus will put the snow falling in your photo if it sees snow.
Yeah, I wish they did that again this year.
Well, it would be nice if they did it when it saw ground, because there's no snow, so we're not gonna... But anyway, tonight we're going to try and give you some fun ideas and share some stories of things that we've done in the past for this kind of weather issue and taking pictures. Just to remind everybody, if you're watching this live, which would be right now, join the Q&A. There's some folks who've already done it, Don and Andrew and a few others. Please join the Q&A. Let us know what you're thinking. If you have any great ideas of things you've done photo-wise this time of year that you think other people would get a benefit from, post it in the Q&A. We'll roll it right into the show. If you don't know how to do this, you hover your mouse over the window that we're talking in right now. You'll see along the left side a window will come up and it'll say Q&A. Click on that. Along the right side, type in your questions, hit enter, and we'll see you. Now, I know that there's some people who watch us on iPads and so on, and I've heard that that doesn't work very well, so I apologize for that. But if you can join in the Q&A, please do so. And if you can't, then you can always go to the Daytripper Photo community on Google Plus and make your comments there, and we'll see that in about a week when we go to that website. It's not very timely. Waiting for something. Nothing. Okay, good. And before we get into the meat and potatoes of the show, I think we're going to do a whole series of shows called Meat and Potatoes. That's something like that. Anyway, before we get into that, I just want to give a quick thank you to the folks who have sponsored us in the past. And next year is a whole new year. It'll be interesting to see what we have planned for as far as sponsorships and so on. I know that we're in talks with a few really awesome companies, one of which I can probably say, and that's Sennheiser. So that would be very cool.
That's awesome.
Very, very cool. And if we get to use some of their product during the show, maybe their headphones and microphones and stuff, it could be really fun. And plus,
or for another movie of some sort.
Or for another movie. That was brought into the conversation as well.
Ooh.
You know, this is the thing. A sponsorship for a show like ours isn't monetary. It's not something where we can say, hey, give us $5,000 and you'll get a reward for that. No, it doesn't work that way. We're a smaller kind of show, and the people who watch us, I love you guys. Thank you so much. But it's not a shilling show. The whole idea of this isn't to say buy, buy, buy. It's to say try, try, try.
Yes.
You know, get some experience, play around with some stuff, and enjoy it. So when we have a company like LensPen who gives us these lens pens that we can give away for photo challenges, or J. Miller Real Estate that really came through for our photo expo, and Henry's Rentals and things like that, I love the companies, and I wouldn't want them to sponsor the show if we didn't. But at the same time, they're the kind of companies that you can call on when you need them, and they're always there for you when you need them, LensPen especially, and so on. So thank you so much to our sponsors for being with us for the past while, and hopefully continuing to be with us for the future. Anything to add to that, guys, before we move along?
Yeah, just looking forward to 2016.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, and since this is going to be the last show of the year, if anybody has any comments, maybe things that they want to try in 2016, photography they haven't tried that they want to get more into, anything like that, go ahead, chime in. Let us know what you're thinking, and it should be a lot of fun.
Yeah. Well, I can say, you know.
Sorry, go ahead.
I know I'm going to try and get into a bit more bird photography. I started actually trying to shoot some birds probably about a month, 2 months ago. Wow, maybe 2 months ago. Longer ago than it feels like with Bryan, the other one. And I started shooting some birds, and I got to say I'm not great at shooting birds, but I really, really enjoyed it. And so I think that's something I want to expand into in 2016.
Well, you should come on the falconry session.
That'd be a lot of fun.
Yep. We're going to Bowmanville this time, so it should be cool.
It's out your way. My way.
Yeah. All right, so anyway, we will talk more about the day trips and that in the future. Of course, there are a few day trips coming up in January. Our hockey photography session, January 9th. Our indoor light painting session on January 10th. And the first Fire on Ice session of the year, which by the looks of it may not be on ice, it may be on grass.
Fire on grass. Fire on grass is like a Smokey the Bear issue.
Yeah. Fire on damp grass.
Prevented this.
That's on January 24th. That's where we do the burning steel wool and all that cool stuff. So that should be fun. But light painting, I mean, this is one of the things we can do any time of the year, and I love light painting. One of my favorite things to do is sit right here in the office, pull out a little TV tray, put a garbage bag on top, and try some cool stuff with flashlights and different colored gels. Some of the coolest photos I've made are literally right here, any time of the night or any time of the day where it's dark outside.
Yeah.
Not many times of the day when it's dark outside, but
you can always block the window with some cardboard, a nice heavy sheet. As long as it's relatively dark, you're pretty much okay.
Heck, I could go in the bathroom and do it.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's the holidays, so you probably have Christmas lights, maybe a ton of battery-powered candles lying around. All of that stuff can work great for light painting.
I'm glad you said that. I thought you were going to say, well, it's the holidays, so there'll be lots of opportunities to go to the bathroom.
Well, that too.
That too, yeah. Okay, so here's a few things, and I really didn't have any time to get my stuff prepared tonight because I was off work at 9 o'clock. I didn't get home till 20 after 9-ish.
Okay.
So I didn't have all my flashlights. But, guys, this is all you really need to do for light painting. You need a flashlight. You need some colored gels, which you can pick up at any hardware store, pretty much, Henry's, any place where you can buy cellophane of different colors. What's that, Phil?
Some dollar stores.
Some dollar stores. Cellophane, gels, anything that has a different color. And if you hold that in front of a flashlight, you have changed the color of your flashlight, so you can have fun with that. I used to pick up these fiber optic wands at Canadian Tire. Unfortunately, Canadian Tire doesn't have those anymore, so you have to go online for that. And I'm going to see if I can find... I really wanted to have my whole kit right here, but I don't.
Well, and as they get closer to New Year's, I'm sure that they'd start having that kind of stuff on.
Mm-hmm.
Because it seems to be a very New Year's-y thing. Sorry, just bear with me for a second, guys. I'm just going to cut my audio.
Okay. Yeah, it is a very New Year's-y thing, and there's so many different things that you can do with different wands and so on. I'm just going to quickly share my screen so you can see what I'm talking about. A fiber optic wand is literally just a wand that has fiber optic brushes that come out, which you can pull the brush off of the wand and attach it to a flashlight. So if you look at this stuff here, kind of more like this right here. Is that up there yet?
Yep.
Gabriel? Cool. So it's just a base here, and you pull the fiber optics out. It's usually grouped in a little plug, the silver base like this. You pull that fiber optic out, and you can attach that to a flashlight with a little coupler of some kind, duct tape, you know?
Electrical tape, anything.
Electrical tape, you got it, and then that works really, really well. And there's also other flashlights that you can get that are multicolored, where if you just press it, it goes red or blue or different colors. And if you attach that to the wand, now you're creating reds and blues and all these really cool colors that you can paint with, and you can do all this really neat stuff with. So for me, this time of year, especially because it gets dark so early, light painting is one of the best things to play with.
And even if you only have one flashlight, even changing what the bulb looks like can affect. So, make a paper cone around your flashlight so it concentrates light on one area instead of just having it spread out everywhere. Or, add interesting, stuff to the front. Not so much the colors, that just changes what the light looks like.
Mm-hmm.
And with like a cheap flashlight and your imagination, you can. There's not a lot you can't do.
It's true. I mean, I'm going to pull up a couple shots here just to share the idea of what we're talking about. And, of course, you can take this anywhere you want to go with it, of course. Cause
as long as it's dark.
It's the only limit is your imagination, right? Like, if you can think it, you can create it with light painting. So let's start off with this here. This is about a 170-second exposure. So pitch black room, turn out the lights, use a remote control, press the shutter, lock it in bulb mode, and the entire time your shutter's open, I'm just taking flashlights and I'm lighting things up. So the wand is the blue stuff around the edges. Who was that?
That's my WhatsApp notification on my phone.
It was a sneeze?
A sec. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, and another one that I really enjoyed making was this one of the wolf. Just let me know when that's up there.
Yes, I like this one. Looks like it's like water flowing by. It's awesome.
That's the idea. And there's like an aurora borealis up in the air.
Yeah.
And,
So
yeah,
is this
it's-
something that you could use like on a Christmas tree or something? Or
I don't know if you want to
Absolutely it
move
is.
the entire tree, but you could move the camera around the tree.
or light paint the tree?
You
Put
got
a
it.
camera on a tripod?
Actually, last night in preparation for the show tonight, I went down to the tree and I was trying some of it. I just wasn't feeling it, so I ended up just putting stuff away. But it's the kind of thing that you can be inspired by one single ornament, and just how you shine the light through the ornament can create different effects. So absolutely, you
Yeah.
can do this for the tree.
Yeah.
In
Yeah,
fact,
that's sort of a good Christmas photography tip as well, is that you have all these amazing ornaments out on this static object with
Yeah.
cool lighting. Pull out a macro lens or something like that, and
Yeah,
spend
close-up
some-
filters.
Yeah, spend some time getting some nice close-up photography.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Actually, it's here's a shot I had done previously, and this was light painted.
Here's one you prepared earlier.
No, this was last year. I made this one, but I
I'm
have it
watching
as
a lot
my,
of cooking
my
shows.
profile on Facebook right now.
Yeah,
profile,
that's awesome.
Background. Yeah, it's just a couple of the ornaments that really interested me, and then just some other stuff around in the back. It may not be the best compositionally, but you can do some really cool detail, and it doesn't matter how bright it is. It looks like it was taken during the day, but it was really just flashlights that I was using.
That's
So-
awesome. I like this. I think I'm gonna go down. I have an interesting ornament on my tree. I might go down and take a picture of. You've inspired me.
You like my drum set? Isn't that cool?
I do. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, that's mine. Can't have it.
Where'd you get that? That's really neat.
Isn't it? Yeah, I don't know where I got it. I got it as a gift.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Man, the person that got you that must be awesome.
Yeah. Ooh, you didn't give that to me, did you?
Yeah, of course I did.
Did you?
Yeah.
Seriously? Oh my God.
Leave me along.
Gifts. I don't remember who got me my breakfast this morning. And just
Who got me my breakfast this morning? It was me.
Yeah.
okay. So those are some of the things you can play around with light painting. And please, guys, have fun. Try all
Absolutely.
kinds of stuff. And there's no wrong way to do it. If you just keep your shutter open for a while, remotes usually work best. Use a tripod, because if you're hand holding it, it's going to look like this.
Yeah, which could be a cool picture itself. You could get interesting shots of blurry lights. Now, if you have a Nikon, some Nikons have a time mode as opposed to bulb. And what you do with time is one shutter button press opens the shutter, and then when you press it for the second time, it closes the shutter. So if you have a Nikon that when you go to manual and you go slow enough, you have a time option, use that. It works really, really well.
Neat. I thought you were talking about mirror up for a second, but no.
No, it's I would prefer a remote over it, simply because you're still pressing the camera. But if you don't have a remote, it's an awesome choice.
Mm-hmm. Now, a lot of people this time of year like to do portraits, family portraits. You have family and friends coming over. There's all kinds of neat tips that you can do for that. I know, Gabriel, I mean, this is your thing, right?
Yeah. So you want to go as fast as you can, as fast glass as you can. And basically what I do at that point, if you're talking really fast, you're usually talking prime. So every year I just make a decision. Instead of sitting there having a 50 and a 24 and a 100, I just say, okay, this year I'm using my 50 for everything. This year I'm using my 100 millimeter macro for everything. And I just make that decision, and that's the only lens that I use for the entire year. And then if I got to do a group shot or something like that, maybe I'll use my phone, or maybe for just that one thing I'll switch out my lens. But so when I look back at the Christmases that I've shot, some of them I used a 10 millimeter, some of them I used 100 millimeter, some of them I used a 50. And it doesn't just look like the same Christmas over and over and over and over and over. Each Christmas has its own feel to it, which can be really nice.
Not only that, but it's also cool that you are able to just stick to one lens and not preoccupy yourself with gear.
That's what I was going to say. You spend more time in the moment and less time, I have this, but if I went upstairs and got my other lens, I could take this shot, and by the time I'm back downstairs, everything's done, whatever was happening.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you want to really make sure that you don't you don't miss the day for sake of the picture.
Yes.
We were talking about how for light painting you can block off the windows. Andrew said in the Q&A, or you can cover the window with tinfoil. I'm sure Brian's neighbors would think anything strange is going on, or would think anything strange is going on.
Do you hear the recent study they did at MIT as to whether tinfoil hats would actually stop government radio waves? And they did this whole, they tried all, like, okay, what's the most common radio waves that people would be afraid of? Where would they be coming from? What power would they be? Stuff like that. What type of tinfoil? Would it be aluminium? Would it be all this? And they tried all these different tests, and in every single test, wearing a tinfoil hat actually worked as an antenna to boost the radio signals.
Oh, nice. Good thing I've never done it.
I like it.
It's all fun and games, and to be honest with you, people wearing tinfoil hats, they would be fun portraits to make.
Absolutely.
Get light reflecting off of it.
Yeah. So there's a little beacon on your head. A good tip for shooting portraits, though, at this time of year especially, would be to do it by a window. If you take a picture of somebody by a window and you have that nice daylight coming through, it's a very nice light to use. But what you may want to consider would be either pull the curtain across, so you have softer diffuse light, or get a light diffuser, one of those little pop-up suckers, and stick it between the glass and your face, because that'll give you a softer light.
Anything you can do to soften light is always a good thing.
Yeah, the problem with this time of year is that it literally gets dark at 4:30.
Yeah.
So there's you're going to be dealing with indoor lighting a lot, or tree lighting, or something, and also, the mood tends to be more, firelight sort of thing, darker. So that's why you want to be looking at fast glass or colored flashes.
Right. Yeah.
Now, the thing to remember when you're shooting, let's say you're shooting people in front of a tree or inside your house, by a fire, by your Christmas tree. If you're using your flash and you're using the camera on, let's say, like program or automatic, I'll say program. Let's go with that, or maybe aperture priority. The camera's going to default to usually picking a pretty quick shutter speed. And by picking a fast shutter speed, you might get a dark room with a bright subject. But if you slow your shutter speed down, you get a lot more of a natural-looking shot. Now, I grabbed this one at random because I took it the other day when they came to drop off their dog. But, is it frozen? There we go. But I have a picture of my mother-in-law and my father-in-law? Is that how it works? Sure. They just came over to drop their dog off.
I can never figure out family trees either.
If that's who he is, then yeah, I guess that's your father.
Heading to his Christmas party with his work, and so they came to drop their dog off, and they wanted a quick picture, and so I took a bunch of pictures. I literally loaded them onto my computer about 10 minutes before we started. But slow shutter speed with a flash, so they're lit up because of the flash. Yet I still get the orange glow, the warmth from the tree, the warmth from the ambient light in the house to give a nice, more natural look.
Question for you on this one, Phil.
Yep.
Since we're talking about this as a portrait using Phil Flash, not your flash as in Phil's flash.
Sadly not.
Phil Flash. Yep. Did you consider your white balance settings here, or did you use like a CTO gel on your flash?
I was in a very hurry to take these, so I stuck a 430 on top of my camera. And basically pointed it at the roof to bounce off the roof and bounce back down, so I didn't get a harsh light directly on their face, and simply took a couple shots. Ideally, I would probably have tried to diffuse it a little bit, maybe put a bounce card to get a catch light going on, but in the 5 minutes that maybe not even 5, that I wanted to use to take these pictures, I just did straight up flash on the roof, which is why the roof up here, I don't know if you can see my mouse.
Yeah.
The flash on the roof here, it's white, where everything else in the shot's really orange. So one of the first things I do with this shot, once I found the one I like, is put it into something like Lightroom or Photoshop, bring back the color a little bit, just so the background's not so orange. Keep it a little bit warmer, because I do like that look, but make it a little bit more correct. Make the white shell white, as opposed to ivoryish cream.
Yeah.
So I'd bring back the white balance. And if you had the time and you weren't really super rushed to take pictures, by all means, get the white balance correct. Figure out, if you want to balance for ambient light, if you want to balance your flash, what you want to fix afterwards, and then go from there.
The reason I asked the question is this is something that I do quite often when I shoot wrestling. You're shooting in a church gymnasium or something like that.
Yeah.
The lights are very orange. The walls are very orange.
Yeah.
But you use flash, which is a bluish color. So I end up with this bright bluish kind of white on the person, and everything in the background is very orange. So if you use a CTO gel, now the flash is orange. CTO stands for color, temperature, orange. They come in different degrees, quarter, half, full, whatever. It's just the amount of the tint of the orange that you're going to get from the flash. If you use the CTO gel on your flash, now the flash is an orangey color, the background is an orangey color, you have a more uniform color front and back, and then when you adjust your white balance, either while you shoot, if you have the time, like Phil's saying, or if you don't have the time and you're shooting in RAW, you can adjust it after the fact in Photoshop or Lightroom, and your color would be front and back the same, so if you made it a little bit more the blue side, everything is going that way.
Exactly.
So it looks a little bit more natural.
With this shot, what I would have to do is basically create a layer mask around them, make the background more blue than they would have to go blue, and it'd be a bit of a pain. Fixing it as you're shooting it is always a good idea. That 30 seconds it would have taken me to get a gel and put it on a flash would have saved me probably 10 minutes in Photoshop.
Just something to think about.
By a bunch of pictures. Fixing it fixing it on camera or as you're shooting is always a better idea than trying to fix it afterwards.
Exactly. And something else to think about when you're shooting portraits of people would be to think about your depth. Think about depth of field when you're shooting. Don't just say, hey, there's a person. Yay, click. If you have two people in a shot and one is in front of the other, and you're focusing on one of them, and you're shooting with what Gabriel's suggesting, a bright prime or something like that, a lens that has an aperture of 1.8 or 1.4, 2.8, something like that, where you have very shallow depth of field, you'll end up with one person in focus and one person blurry. So that's where you want to close your aperture down and get more depth of field. That might help you with that, in which case you may end up needing flash even more.
Yeah.
But if you can play tricks on your system, for example, I'm taking a picture of Phil and Winnie, his dog. And he's got Winnie in his hands. Winnie's about this big, if you didn't know. And he's got Winnie in his hands up here taking a picture. And all of a sudden I focus on Winnie's face, Phil will be totally blurry. If you take Winnie back and you're both at the same plane, now Phil's face is here, Winnie's face is here, right side by side at the same distance. When you take that photo, you'll have focus on both of them. Yeah. So if you are using these bright primes and you are taking pictures of people, make sure, if it's them with their pet or them with their brother or their father, aunt, whatever, make sure you put them on the same plane, and that way your focus will work for you in a little bit better way. Little tip for you. Oh, and remember,
take two quick photos and focus stack them in Photoshop.
That's what I was doing at wrestling the other day. One of the guys was doing the V like this, and I got his hand here, and I got his face here, and I tried to stack them. It could work.
Yeah,
definitely.
Now, the thing is, if you're going to be shooting anytime and you're going to be slowing your shutter speed down, you're going to want to shoot when your people are as still as possible. And now it's easier with adults than it is for children. But if you're going to be slowing your shutter speed down to add that kind of more ambient glow to your flashes with your shots with your flash, slower shutter speed, you have to go with still subjects. If you're shooting kids and you want that brighter ambient light in your shot, you can always rely on your ISO. Bump it up a little bit more, that background light gets brighter, your flash and the background light will cooperate a whole lot better.
Very good point. Did you guys ever realize that back in the day when people did portraits, they tended to look very, very dead?
Yes.
Well, the reason for that is because older cameras, older lenses had very small apertures, therefore very slow shutter speeds. So you'd always find them sitting very still and stoic.
Sometimes 2 to 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Yep. So they have to.
Yeah.
It's a very funky look. So there's old Honest Abe there getting his photo taken. I bet he had to sit there for quite a while.
Yeah.
Be as steady as possible.
Sometimes for stand-up shots, they would actually have metal braces that they would put like children in, and it would wrap around them to make sure that the kids didn't move a lot.
And now that's called torture, which is very strange.
Liberals.
Speaking liberals. Speaking of taking pictures of kids, another tip for you is get down to their level. If I take a picture of them from up above here, it's going to look kind of awkward. And if you do my photo that way, then you'd see bald spot. I wouldn't like you. So if you get down to their level and you shoot from straight on or even a little lower, you're going to get a little bit better feel for the photo. And plus, see a little bit more about what's happening in their world. It conveys a different level of intimacy and gives you some scale as to how big the kids are, because depending on how high they sit and so on. So something else you can do when you're doing holiday portraits.
And that doesn't just work for kids. If you want, you can do it while you shoot, not the best picture, but while you shout pictures of pets. This one voted for Trudeau.
This one voted for Trudeau.
Little stone there.
For some reason, it always looks like that.
Oh my God.
But get down on its level, and that works for kids, as you were saying. But animals, anything that conveys a better story.
There you go. Great stuff.
Bows look good on just about everything.
I like it.
We usually have a Yule log video going up on the 60-inch TV. This year there's, Ron Swanson from Parks and Rec?
Yeah.
There's a 45-minute video, and I swear to God, I was sat there for 15 minutes watching it. There's a 45-minute video of him drinking whiskey in front of a fireplace, and it is epic. It's epic. It's so cool. So that's what we're going to be playing Sunday morning.
Oh, my good God. And for those of you who have Rogers Cable, channel 204 is the fireplace channel.
Oh, there you go.
And one of those other channels is the rotisserie chicken channel, which is
Wait, what?
very tasty smelling. Okay, so some other things we can do this time of year is stock photography. We've talked about it earlier, taking pictures of ornaments and things like that for your tree. There are so many cool things that you can have out. Like I've got a whole village up here of those old villages and stuff like that. You can sit and take pictures of villages and put those up on stock photography sites, and they'll sell for who knows how much, right? Mm-hmm. It's about the lighting. It's about getting good detail, good composition. It's all important that you do that. But if you can make some cool stock photos, this is something you can actually make money back from.
Yeah, like what you have here. You get your Christmas tree. We went down and cut our own down this year, and there's always a couple branches at the bottom that you have to trim off. So I took one of those branches and I put it in a vise on a lighting stand, set up a single softbox, and so this is just a branch, sticking off in the middle of nowhere, and shot some kind of cool pictures.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it's nice when you do a photo like this for stock, because along the bottom there's a lot of white space where people can put their ad, they can put their wordage.
Yeah.
It definitely helps with that kind of thing. And also,
I even did a little bit of bird photography.
Oh, look at that! Some kind of wildlife you got there. See, the birds
I find the humans are easier. They don't run away as much.
Exactly. You can have solar shutter speeds. It works well. Another thing, though, you can use stock photos for would be to use for a website. Yeah. You can use them for making Christmas cards for next year.
Or if you make things and you want to show what you've made. I don't have it here, because if I did, I would just be like, look, it's here, but it's on my tree. You make something cool and you want to try and sell it, that works. And for stock, little things like this, totally stealing this from a session that you're at, can work great to hold stuff in place. You could hold a little branch from a tree and then have an ornament hanging off of it. Right now I have a weird crest thing. I don't really know what it is. It looks cool. But something small like that can help if you get into doing stock stuff. Or even if you just get into taking really interesting pictures of small objects.
It's called a third arm, or
yes.
a third hand, right? So you can actually be propping something up with a little clamp while taking pictures.
I now realize that everything's backwards on my screen.
Don, I like Don pipes up. He says, "Take a drink," because he knows where we're going with this. You got that from a Don Komarechka macro class. Don supplied all
there's a photographer, Ron Namanetra, who I can't drink anymore.
No. All right, so those are some cool things we've talked about so far. So holiday portraits, a lot of fun to do. Light painting, very cool stuff. You can get very creative and try all kinds of different stuff. Stock photography, again, stock is something where you're creating an image where people will buy it from you if you upload it to a micro stock or a stock website like iStockPhoto.com, Alamy, A-L-A-M-Y. There's all kinds of micro stock sites out there that you can sell your photos through as well. But then again, I mean, even if Shelly and her mother want to use a photo, I can go down, take a picture of a couple ornaments, and she could use these for anything, right?
Yeah, if you shoot them yourself, you can use them for your own advertisement. You don't have to worry about royalties or anything like that.
Exactly, and that's the key. Like, anybody ever go into a Henry's camera store and they look at our ads and they're like, oh, look at these pretty ads. I wonder how they got these photos. They bought them from iStockPhoto.com. Yeah. They didn't hire staff to shoot that stuff. It's cheaper just to buy a stock image than to pay an employee to shoot it. So definitely something that you could look more into. Now, what else do people do this time of year, especially when there's lots of snow or no snow?
They might, try and make snow angels or dirt angels.
Not exactly where I'm going with this. Okay, let's go back to the notes here.
Exchange rate. They might try and travel somewhere to spend, 30% more.
There you
go. They might normally have to.
He's a puppy.
Said the guy who. You're talking to the guy who just booked his Vegas tickets.
Vegas.
Yeah! That dog just loves you.
Oh yeah.
If I did that with Dixie, she'd bite my face off. Okay, holiday vacation photos. That's what we're talking about here, guys. If you're going on a holiday, if you're taking a vacation, what do you do? What's some good advice we can give you? We kind of touched on it earlier. One of the things.
With primes?
Travel light.
Okay.
Don't bring more than you have to. These days, when you fly somewhere, your weight restrictions are awful.
Yeah.
You find people loading their camera lenses into their jackets and putting them in their pockets, and that's no way to travel. Robert says drink. That's what you're supposed to do when you're on vacation.
Yes, that works too, especially this time of year as well. All the family comes over. That one uncle, you got to forget what he said. Just.
And the more you drink, the steadier you get. So you can shoot with slower shutter speeds. Or something.
I'd say also for travel photography, be realistic. Think about where you're going and how much you're going to actually want to carry your gear around. For my, I'm going to talk about this because it's the last trip I took. But when I went to Vegas last, I brought, I agonized for weeks over what lens to bring and stuff like that. And I used my DSLR for like one day. And then I just use my phone for everything else because you don't want to be carrying around a bulky camera, going to all different places. So be realistic, and if you don't think that you want to carry around I picked up I had my 5D Mark III and I picked up a little pancake lens, right? So the whole lens is only that big. It's incredibly small, but the DSLR itself is big. So I think next time I may just rent like a mirrorless, like a Sony A whatever 1000 or something like that, and just have a little something I can have in my pocket, or just use my phone for everything.
Yeah, the mirrorless would give you less compromise on image quality.
Exactly.
Yeah. And more ability to get creative. If you do happen to go to a place where you see the Aurora Borealis and all you've got is your cell phone, you're kind of hooped. Yeah. So if you have something where you can adjust the manual controls, that would be really good. Robert, hi.
That's a good point.
He also makes a very good point here, to research where you're going and plan what you will shoot. I agree with that. It's just like what Gabriel's saying. He knew what he was going to be doing, and he had all these ideas of photos he wanted to make, but when you actually got there, you ended up using your phone for most of it. So if you could just get away with using a cell phone, I mean, some phones are really good for photography these days. The phone I have, the Sony Xperia series, 20 megapixel with a real Zeiss lens. It's a really good cell phone for photography. However, Gabriel's is a little bit better, and they're getting better every year. So.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's still a cell phone with a sensor that's maybe 2 millimeters.
With no zoom.
No zoom. Glass that's going to be relatively okay. You go to something like your actual camera, you're going to have like a 17.5 or a 35 millimeter sensor size. It's going to be significantly better. Your glass is going to be better. If you can, use an actual camera.
Yeah. Keep in mind where you travel. If you ever go to a place like Spain or many places in Europe or many places where theft is very high and there's people who are literally trained to steal your gear. Yeah. One of our good friends was in Spain, and he just chatted with the person, had a good conversation. As he said goodbye, the person shook his hand, pulled him in a little bit. His buddy came, stole the guy's camera bag, gone. And that's not a small guy either who can't take care of himself. I mean, the person who this happened to is very prepared for idiots and jerks. Yeah. So you just don't know, right?
And you can always, like, I have a cool strap that I like. It's like this vintage kind of Canon EOS strap. I like the strap, but the problem is it advertises what camera you have. Yeah. So going with the strap that doesn't actually say your manufacturer or what model you have is always a good idea when you're traveling. Not only that, but another strap other than the one that came in the box is actually going to be better than the one that came in the box. It's going to be more comfortable. You can get one that's going to be maybe a little bit more secure. If you're always worried about people, maybe cutting your strap to just try and steal your camera, you can get camera straps that have braided like steel or braided some metal in it so that it's not really a cuttable strap. There's many, many ways to prepare for people wanting to borrow your gear without your permission.
That's a good point, and just to touch on that for a quick second, I'm going to share my screen and show people what you're talking about. There's a company called PacSafe, P-A-C-S-A-F-E. They make some incredible products for traveling and not worrying about your stuff being stolen. Their bags all have a metal mesh throughout, so you can't just cut it. Their straps have metal bars throughout the strap, so you can't walk by and slice your strap and steal your gear. So if you are looking for something that is built to travel to those places, PacSafe, great stuff. And as you can see, prices start from just $3. There you go.
And the other thing too with your camera gear is don't carry more than you need. It kind of comes back to the travel light, but if you're going to go out and you're going to shoot some night pictures, you're going to walk around the street in the middle of not the middle of the night, but at nighttime, if you only need your camera and let's say a 50mm prime lens, only bring your camera in the 50. Don't bring your 200mm lens because it might be useful. You're probably not using it. Don't bring it. If you decide that, oh man, I really wish I had it, go back the next night or go back, get it, and go back and shoot.
Absolutely. And Gabriel, you already mentioned this, and I'm going to mention it again because I think it's worth mentioning. Get a 50mm.
Yeah.
You know, I don't care who you are or how you perceive that portrait focal length to be. It doesn't have to be a portrait lens. Get a 50, 1.8, 1.4, doesn't matter. The Canon 1.8 STM, $170.
The new one is beautiful.
It is. It is really fast focusing. It's very quiet. So even if you want to do some video, very shallow depth of field because it's a 1.8, great for video. It doesn't make any noise when it focuses. It's way better than the previous generation 50 f1.8, which was $130. This guy's $170.
It was a beautiful lens, but it sounded like it was going to fall apart. It was
all plastic.
But yeah, it was super plastic, and was the plastic fantastic?
Exactly. And now the 50mm from Nikon has always been metal, but the newer versions, again, you're looking about 220-ish for something like that. But it is, as far as lenses go, these are cheap lenses, and they are sharp, and they're fast, and they're light, and they're small, and they're really easy to walk around with, and they give you some great creativity.
Yeah, and it's a lens you don't replace. So you might spend $170 on it, maybe $200 on it, but as long as you're shooting with your camera manufacturer, you are not replacing that lens. Well, unless you break it, but don't break lenses. That's our next one. Don't break lenses.
Don't break lenses. That's our tip.
Now, if you are traveling to a beach, let's say you're going somewhere warm and you want to take pictures on the beach, try not to change lenses on the beach. Even if it's not windy, sand gets everywhere. So try not to change lenses on the beach, and don't put your camera bag directly onto the sand. If you can, put a beach towel, something that's a buffer between the sand and your camera bag. Because if you just sit the camera bag straight onto the sand will work its way kind of through the bag and get into it somehow. Sand's magic. Keeping a buffer there will prevent sand from getting into the camera bag, and then therefore preventing it from getting into your camera.
Mm-hmm. And that's not just the beach. I mean, if you're going to Africa,
Yep.
The sand is so fine, and it's like iron filled, and it's red, and it'll get all over your clothes. You'll never get it off. So it's a really good tip. And if you're doing something like an Africa trip, get an all-in-one lens. Get like an 18 to 300 or an 18 to 250. You don't have to change. You can still shoot your wildlife. You can still shoot your landscape. And if it's not a once-in-a-lifetime trip, then maybe the quality isn't the first and foremost concern. If it is a once-in-a-lifetime trip, that's when you suffer for the cause, and you maybe bring a few extra pieces of glass.
And you can always put yourself in the way of the wind to prevent stuff from getting in. And before we get to the comment we have in the Q&A, the other thing I want to mention is as it gets colder, at some point it's actually going to get cold outside. When it gets colder outside,
please.
It's a good idea to let the camera warm up and cool down slowly. So I call it climatization, according to Google. That's not a word. But if you're going from inside your house to outside, let the camera cool down. If you're going from outside to inside, let it slowly warm up. Because if it's, let's say, minus 20 outside, and you keep your house at 20, that's a 40-degree temperature difference. That's a shock to the system. So any moisture in the camera is going to instantly condense. Your house is nice and warm and humid, and all that hot air is going to condense onto a cold camera. So keep the camera in the camera bag. Maybe open the zipper about an inch or so, and let it slowly warm up and slowly cool off. And that way you won't run into an issue especially with a bag like that.
This is something that you have experience with, eh?
Yes.
This is called the Low Pro Dry Zone bag. The zippers are literally rubber, and this whole bottom area is 100% waterproof, which can be great. But as Phil's about to mention,
it can act basically as an airtight cooler. And so if you have cold air inside that bottom part and it's sealed, it's going to take a really long time for it to warm up. So you might open it like an hour later, and it's still going to be too cold or too warm, and it's going to make a mess. So keep the zipper open about half an inch or so, or an inch. It's going to let the air come in and flow out easily, and it'll slowly warm up and slowly cool down.
One good trick is if you're going from a really cold area to a warm area, when you bring your lens in, there's going to be a lot of condensation that forms on your camera.
Yeah.
Shove it in a Ziploc bag. I keep some of the big 2-liter Ziploc bags. I keep them in my bag all the time. Shove it in a Ziploc bag, close the bag, and that way the condensation will form on the bag instead of the camera.
Now, just to be clear, you're putting it in the bag when you're still in the cold.
Yes.
You're outside, you're in the cold, your gear is cold, you put everything in the Ziploc, you close the Ziploc, get the air out. Then when you come in the house and the condensation starts to form, as Gabriel says, it'll be on the outside of the bag, not on your gear.
And only go from cold to warm with that method, and don't go the other way.
Right. Good tips.
The other thing to do is if you can, I lucked out and found this massive thing in an item I bought.
Oh, yeah.
But keep silica gel packets. They're normally a lot smaller than this. Keep silica gel packets in your camera bag. They absorb moisture. They're going to help prevent it from just condensing
condensing
on the camera itself, and it'll help keep things dry and happy.
You can even get reusable versions of those that once they absorb the moisture that they're going to absorb, you put it in the microwave for a couple minutes or the oven, and it just reactivates it, and then you can reuse those again. They come in little discs. They're pretty cool.
Yeah.
So, Phil, why don't you answer Christine's question?
So the clicking during focusing with video, and that comes down to, it could be a lens thing, but it also comes down to how the camera focuses while it's shooting a video. When you're shooting a video, the camera is using a secondary focusing system. It's using something different than it normally would use to focus, so it's not as accurate. And the way it focuses is it basically takes almost like a series of pictures and tries to figure out what one is actually sharper, and it's a slower process, and that clicking is the autofocus basically coming on, stopping, coming on, stopping, coming on, stopping, coming on, stopping repetitively. So the easiest way to get around it would actually be to manually focus during video. Or pre-focus and then start recording your video. So manual focus in video, it sounds daunting, it sounds challenging, but if you try it out for 15 minutes, tracking cars going up and down the street, just manually twisting your lens when it's set to M, manual focus on the side of the lens, it'll become very easy. and it will help fix that problem. Alternatively, if you're going to record, let's say, someone opening something, it is that time of year, pre-focus on them, start recording the video, and as long as you don't get closer to them and they don't get farther away from you, they're going to stay sharp for the entire time that video's happening. So if you're shooting a still stationary subject, focus first, and then start recording. If you're shooting a moving subject, then manual focus is your friend.
And then the other option would be to, with the newer lenses, as I mentioned before about that new 50, there's a new series of lenses from Canon called STM, step motor lenses, which are quiet. They're very smooth. When you focus it on, like if you put it on autofocus and turn the barrel, you don't hear it going, near, near, near. It's very smooth. It's very quiet. So if you have a Canon camera, any DSLR from a T3i and newer, you can get these STM lenses that are very quiet. They make them in all different focal lengths now, and that would help you with your video as well.
And just for the record, the T3 or newer is for the video portion of the camera, right?
Yes.
Yes. Not they can use them on any camera. It's just cooperate to the video on those ones.
Exactly. Okay, so sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, if you didn't really want to get a new lens, manual focus, it really works very well. Really works very well? Sure, we'll go with that. It takes a bit of practice, but it works really well.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just looking at the Q&A, and my mother had a question. Sorry, Gabe, do you have something to say first?
No, I was just going to say our friend Peter McKinnon, that's how he learned. He does amazing videography work. That's how he learned to manually focus his cameras. He had a puppy at the time, and he would just chase the dog around the house with the camera until he just got the muscle memory as to where the focus needs to be sharp for that situation.
And it's going to be frustrating at first. But that's what I say, put the time into it. Maybe it'll take 15 minutes till it feels like it's normal, and then maybe a couple hours after that till it's second nature like it is for him. But just a little bit of practice will go a long way.
So my mom lives down in Florida.
Yep.
And she has a question. She goes from a highly air-conditioned car to very hot and humid wetlands. It's still in the high 80s and 85% humidity down there right now. She has to remember to clean the lens before she shoots outside, and are we saying that if she keeps the camera in a case while it's in the car, or she should keep the camera in a case when it's in the car? Is that what you're saying, Gabe?
Ideally, I would. I would keep it in the case. I'd get out. I'd wait like 10 minutes, let it slowly warm up, pop it out. You wouldn't have to clean any of the condensation off, and that condensation is not only forming on your lens, but it's also forming inside the camera itself.
Right.
And that's where the bigger problem lies.
And yeah, that's one of the reasons, like, if you buy a used lens, the first thing you want to look for is mold inside the lens.
One thing I'm trying to find here, there is a product that LensPen makes called a fog clear cloth.
Okay.
Okay.
This isn't necessarily for what Mom's asking about, but if you were going to be doing pictures at a cottage, and you're going to be doing overnight photos of the moon rise, or the moon going up, and then the moon going down, and then the sun coming up, this is where you can run into a lot of fog issues. So if you were to use this microfiber cloth, which has a special kind of like a resin on it, you wipe this on your lens before you go into the environment, and it'll prevent fog from forming on your lens.
Interesting.
Now, it doesn't do anything to the condensation on the inside of your camera, like you guys are saying, but it will help fog from forming on your lens. And it's really cool because when it's all done and you don't want to do this anymore, you can just get another lens pen, a normal lens pen cloth, and wipe off that material.
Okay. That could work. Now, that seems like something that would be a preventative measure as opposed to really a fixing measure.
Yes.
So it'd be like if you were going to do, as you said, like a longer exposure up north, or anytime you're doing it, let's say longer exposure overnight, it could be useful. Or if you're shooting early morning, it's super kind of foggy, super misty. It would help it from sticking onto your lens.
You got it. Now, that page that I just shared, that was on Walmart. This device doesn't say the price, but it's not expensive. We sell them at Henry's for like $7. I mean, they're not expensive.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I personally prefer to get it from a Canadian retailer than Walmart, but that's for a different conversation.
True, but my mom lives in Florida, so.
Yes.
Okay, so that's those are the main points that I think we wanted to get across, some things that you can try. And if anybody has any questions before we go off the air tonight, please just go ahead and post them in the Q&A. We are more than happy to field your questions and discuss any other questions or problems you may have run into.
And even if we're not on the air, and you have questions, post them to Google.
Absolutely.
Make a question to us. Wow, I am not too good with the speaking right now. Hold on. Post a question directly to us, and we can always, it'll show up. I know whenever someone posts something, I usually get an email about it. And so you got a question, post it. You have a picture you tried, something didn't work, post it, and we'll be able to give you a hint. Now, keep in mind that, the 24th, 25th, 26th, we probably won't do too much.
It'll only be Brian replying because, he's a Jew. So
Fish.
I'm a Pastafarian, so I'm not quite sure what it is we celebrate yet.
I love Christmas.
Or something.
Oh God. Okay, one thing I do want to remind everybody who's watching, though, is take the time to practice.
Yes.
I think it's very important, and we talked about it with the video, practice the focusing. We talk about it all the time. Get in practice, because if you don't do that, you don't build up the muscle memory, and then when you need to do this stuff, it's like, where do I start again, right? So if you can try and practice and do these things more often when you're not necessarily needing to make the photo, it can just help you in so many ways. So here's my challenge to everybody. This is not a photo challenge. This is just something that you can do if you want to try and practice on something. Get out a candle. It can be anything, little tea light, whatever.
As long as you can see the flame.
As long as you can see the flame. And then just practice everything. Try different shutter speeds. Try different apertures. Try different ISOs. There you go. A little lighter. Zippo. Doesn't matter. Try and do this. Sit it on the table. Get your camera. Put it on a tripod. And just try every different setting you could possibly imagine. White balance, shutter speeds, apertures, ISOs, focal lengths, you name it. But review the photos. See what the settings were you did when you shot the shot. And try and reproduce those settings with other things down the road. The more you can practice, I love the candle challenge. I just think it's one of the best things just to play around with, and it's a lot of fun. Plus, it's fire, and fire is always good. Yeah, don't burn the house down. Okay, so Mom says, so when do I treat the lens with this cloth? In the cool car or when I'm outside?
You would, in theory, treat it in the cool car to prevent the condensation from forming when you go to the warmer, more humid area. But I would use this more as a one-time measure and not a continual solution.
What do you mean by that?
Because the one-time measure will sure stop the condensation from forming on the front of the lens, but continually doing it, it's not stopping the condensation from forming on the back of the lens or the inside of the camera. So it's fixing one problem, but it's not really addressing the entire reason why you want to slowly heat up or slowly cool down a camera.
Good point. Awesome. Okay, so we're running toward the end of our show. Gabriel, you wanted to talk about album sharing in Google Photos.
I sure did. There is, so, I hope, I don't think I got into my big Google Photos thing, but I hope some people took my comments to heart about if you're having frustrations using Google Photos, don't think about when you took your photo, think about what was in the photo and do a search for that. And I've had like 98%, 99% success finding photos. I find people that are newer to photography have a much easier time because they don't have all the folder structure mentality. But they just added a new feature into Google Photos this week where you can, as a quick example, last weekend we went and we cut down our own tree. We went with another couple. So, we were on the wagon being pulled by the tractor, I was taking pictures. And then I'm cutting down our tree, and Trish and the other couple are taking pictures. Then they're cutting down their tree, and I'm taking pictures along with Trish and video. So we got 4 cameras, all with separate images, right? And they're all in separate photo galleries. So I create one gallery, and I'm going to do an example gallery here quickly. I can create one gallery and invite people into that gallery. They select their pictures and add it to the gallery, and you can follow the gallery so you can be notified when new pictures have been added to that gallery. You can add your own pictures, and then you can also click a button and have them downloaded, and they'll show up in your photo stream as if they're your pictures. It's absolutely amazing, and it's incredibly easy to do. So I'm just going to do a quick screen share here. Screen 1. Yes. Okay, so Is it up yet?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. So these are just some pictures that I took during the show. Just sample images. So I'm gonna. Here's the first image. I'm gonna shift click to select all these pictures. I'm gonna go up here to the plus sign, and I'm gonna go shared image. Sorry, album. Shared album. Oh, I'm not so good with the words tonight either.
Okay.
I'm going to go new shared album, and I'm going to call it Desk Stuff.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. No, it's epic.
It's
all right.
Exclamation points are necessary, right?
Exclamation points are what life is all about. So now I'm going to click on share up here. It's a little bit different on the phone, the way you do it on your phone, but the steps are pretty much the same. So you see there's that little toggle there, let others add their photos. I'm going to copy this link here. So this is what creates the web gallery that shares your Google Photos. I'm going to open an email, and I didn't quite anticipate this part, so I'm just going to minimize this down here so I don't show any emails that anybody's not supposed to see. I'm going to address it to Brian and send it to your Gmail.
Sure.
Okay. And I'm going to go subject, gallery, say something, and I'm going to paste it into here. I'm going to click send. Now, I'm going to go back to photos. Here we go. So here's the gallery that I just made. And Brian's going to get an email on his computer, and I don't know if you want to do a screen share of that or just walk us through what you're seeing.
Well, I actually have something I want to show you.
Oh.
So you know how the big movie is coming out soon?
Yes, I do.
So check out what happens when I do this.
I don't know what movie's coming out.
Oh.
Oh dear.
See that?
Yes.
So you went to the dark side.
I chose the dark side. That's right.
You know, I'm so ticked off because I have a Google Apps account, so I can't. It doesn't offer that.
Yeah, I'm pretty impressed because it's not just there, but if I'm doing the map on my phone, I'm a TIE fighter.
Yeah.
As I'm traveling the maps on my phone.
Everything.
That's pretty cool.
Awesome.
Okay, so here's the link. It says gallery. I click on that. There's the link you just sent me.
Yep.
It opens up to that desk stuff.
That's awesome.
And I'm
That's a really good way of sharing pictures.
Now you can click join,
which
you just did.
And now I can add my own photos.
If I'm going to refresh this, now it shows your icon there, and I get a little notification here saying Brian joined desktop stuff. I can go back to here quickly, and he can select. Whoops, where'd that go? That's not what I wanted. Now I lost the gallery.
Well, as you're finding yours, I'm choosing pictures here in my photos. There's me when I was 21 with hair.
Nice.
And I click done, and they add to the gallery.
That's awesome.
Which then adds to your gallery.
And I just do a quick refresh, and already all the photos that he's added have shown up in my gallery. So you got 7 or 8 people, there for Christmas dinner, and they're all taking their own photos. You can make one gallery, share it with all of them. They can all join. Even if they just want to join it.
For the purpose of downloading pictures?
Sorry?
Just for the purpose of downloading pictures.
Or even just to join it to be notified when somebody adds new pictures. If I go back to photos here and I go to my the assistant section here, it now tells me Brian just added 4 new photos to desktop. And I go to my galleries here. Excuse me. There's desk stuff. Open that up, and there's all the photos.
What I think is funny is if you look at the top of my page, apparently this page is in French.
Ah, oui.
Oh.
Would I like to translate it?
No! Probably because of my name. Because you'll see it has the name of the submitter on every single photo, right? So Gabriel Bousquet.
Oh, you're so French, man.
Bryan Weiss. And then I can click here. You'll see this little cloud icon up here. I can click there, and down it'll add them to my library. It'll add those photos to my library, and then they'll show up in my photo stream, which I can't show right now, as if they were my photos. So I mean, it's super powerful. It's really easy to use. You'll notice when I first did it and I went to my galleries, I couldn't find them in there. The only thing is, for some reason, by default, they're set to not show up in your gallery, in your collections. So you have to go up to the options one here and go show in collections, and then they show up in your collections. I'm not sure why they're doing that. I'm sure there's an answer that when they give it, I'll go, oh, that makes sense. But right now, it's just a bit of a pain in the ass. But everything else is so easy, it's a small price to pay.
There you go. Very cool stuff.
Yeah, I love it.
Very cool stuff.
That is really cool.
And thanks for talking about it.
Yeah. Now, if someone didn't want to get Google and everything to just email someone pictures, there are other options out there. If you're not familiar with Google, although that's awesome, and I would totally recommend using that, because that's, I think, what I'm going to do this year, because that's way easier than emailing links to everyone and re-emailing when things are done. But if you're just the only person taking pictures, because you're the one with the camera, and you're the person sending people pictures, you can always use something like Dropbox to dump your pictures onto it, email everyone a link, and let them download the pictures they want. It's easy, it's simple. It doesn't have the same flexibility that the Google Photos does. However, for a one-off thing,
more storage.
Okay. Pardon?
You have more storage on Dropbox. I've got over 1 terabyte on Dropbox.
You get unlimited storage on Google Photos.
If it's under 50 meg, right?
You get
no, Sorry?
Sorry, we're all talking at the same time. I think you get, as just a normal person, you get, I think, 2 gigs on Dropbox.
Right.
Okay.
And then if you pay, you can get more space.
So on Google, on the Google Photos, if you want to save your photos at full resolution, you get like 15 gigs or whatever you get, because your photos, your drive, and your email all share the same 15 gigs.
Okay.
But if you do what's called high quality, and basically what it does is it downsamples your images to slightly smaller than original, but have some, I mean, it's Google. They have these algorithmic tricks that you take an original photo and a downsampled photo and you zoom in 100%, you can hardly see any difference whatsoever. But if you select that option, high quality, you get unlimited storage.
Nice.
So yeah, it's lots of storage there.
All right, thanks, Gabe.
No problem.
Really well.
Yeah, now, I was really excited. I'm glad that they came out with that feature right before the holidays, because I'm going to be using that a lot.
It might have been because of the holidays. I'd like to think.
Although you'd think that they would do it right before American Thanksgiving, but it came out right after.
Maybe it wasn't ready in time.
Could be wasn't banked.
The engineers.
Well, here's the thing. We've had a lot of fun doing the show over the past couple of years, and I like doing the show. I enjoy it. But we have noticed recently there's been an extreme tapering off of viewership. So we're in the midst of a revamp. I'm going to be sending out a survey to everybody in our Daytripper community as soon as I possibly can. I've got a whole list of questions I want to send out. I want to find out, what is it about the show people do or don't like? Mm-hmm. Is it annoying to watch? Is it hard to watch? Do we banter on too much? Things like this. Is the content good enough? Are you learning anything from watching? Is there anything you'd like to change? Are there issues that you'd like us to talk about? I need to know all these things, because if we're going to spend the time and do a show and continue doing a show, and it's my time, it's these guys' time, we want to make sure that people are getting a benefit. So please, if we send out this email, I should say, when we send out this survey, fill it in. Take a minute. Let us know what you think about the show. If you don't like the show, and if it turns out that nobody's watching the show, then you know what? We've got some better things that we could be doing. So we'd really appreciate everybody in the community to reply to this questionnaire or the survey when I send it out. That'd be awesome.
Is it going to be an anonymous survey?
Yeah, it's going to be an anonymous survey. We don't need to know who you are. We just want to hear what you think. You know, we want to know where the benefit is, if there is a benefit. But there is something else. If we do continue on the show in the new year, like we will be starting the show in the new year, but if we continue it on and keep on doing the show for another couple of years, we do have a plan to split it up a little bit. So we talked about this a little earlier. What I'm proposing is that we do 3 separate shows. We do what we're going to call the 10% show. So it's going to be tips and techniques and things like that, a step-by-step how to edit, an actual lesson in a show 1 week. The following week we will have a banter show. So we tend to banter on every once in a while, tend to squirrel for a little while and talk about all kinds of stuff. So we'll open up the conversation to anybody and talk about anything. And then we'll keep these shows at 1 hour long. You know, we'll try and keep them a little bit shorter than an hour and a bit, which we've already done tonight. And then the third show in our series would be our photo review show. That's where we will review your photos that you've submitted for our photo challenges, which, by the way, our photo challenge currently is family and holiday, and we're going to review those photos on January the 6th, the first show of the new year, and our next show, because we're taking the rest of the year off.
Yeah.
This is our final show of the year. So please, guys, let us know what you're thinking. If you like our show, let us know that. If you don't like our show, let us know that. We won't be hurt. We'll just stop doing it. So, yeah. What do you think of that, Phil?
That makes sense. And, yeah, just if you have a comment, if you have something you want to say, do it.
Do it. Let us know. That's how this works. That's what it's a community.
Yeah.
Again,
we don't attribute the even though, you know, correlation does not equal causation, just because our viewership crashed massively when Phil joined. You know, we don't attribute that to him in any way. But, you know, fill out those surveys.
Yeah.
Fill them out.
Yeah.
Fill them out.
Fill them out.
Fill them out. Get it? All right, guys. That's it for us this year. Thank you, everybody who's been watching us since day one. And, of course, if you haven't been watching us since day one, well, those shows are still up there. We've got 100. This is the 155th show. 155 shows, Gabriel.
It's awesome.
Oh, my gosh. And I've been here for like 150 of them.
I know, right?
You've been here for like 152 of them.
I love it. I really enjoy doing the show. It makes me happy. It gives me something to look forward to, and we get to hang out and talk. So that's always kind of fun. So I hope we can continue doing it. But to be fair, like we've got a lot of stuff coming up in the new year. A lot of stuff.
Should be exciting.
Should be
very
fun.
exciting.
All right. Anything else to add before we say goodnight, Gabriel?
For those of you who are awesome, may the force be with you.
I'm going on Monday.
I hope. This is the first Star Wars that Jaden has seen in the theater. We've watched, by Friday, we will have watched from 1 to 6. And,
hopefully not in order.
Yeah, we did the prequels and then the original 3.
Okay.
And because it's easier for him to follow the storyline.
I guess you got a point.
That way, right? So it's, if 1 second it's like, I'm your father, and then he's having his arm sliced off by the volcano, it's like, what the heck's going on? So, I'm so excited. So
I'm proud to say I've seen every single Star Wars movie in the theaters.
Oh, wow.
That's awesome.
Every single one. And I remember when I was living in Mississauga, they replayed episodes 4, 5, and 6 at Square One Cinemas, and I went there. We sat through the entire thing. It was awesome. But I remember watching the episode 4 in the drive-in with my dad in our old white camper van. I mean, yeah, Star Wars is awesome. Absolutely love it. I can't wait for this movie. I'm probably going to wait until it's out on Blu-ray, and then I'm just going to watch it on the big TV, because I hate people in big crowds, and I'm not a fan of being in movie theaters. So if I could just do it at home, I would. Christine, Merry Christmas to you too, and thank you for watching our show. I think you're one of the people that we'd love to hear from as far as what we're doing right and wrong, because you're a relative newcomer to our show, and you've been very active, and we appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Okay, Phil, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, and I don't want to sound like every other radio advert out there, but if you're gonna enjoy a rum and eggnog or a whatever an eggnog or just straight scotch, because why not? Call an Uber. Don't leave your car wherever it is.
Yeah.
You don't need it. Get someone else to drive you.
Or call a cab.
Or call a cab.
Or call Robert. He'll pick you up.
Do anything other than operate your own vehicle.
Right, and don't ride your bike
or other
either.
people's.
I've ridden my bike that way, and it's not safe either. So
no, you don't want to.
Be safe. Be safe, everybody. Have a Merry Christmas. Have a very happy and safe New Year. We will see everybody January 6th when we return to the show with our photo review for our photo challenge. What if the feedback indicates that Phil is the problem?
I will wear a fake mustache and go by the name of Eduardo.
They're problem solved.
Perfect.
Phil Eduardo.
Phil Eduardo. Cool. Okay, everybody. Gabe, Phil, love you guys. Thank you for everything, and have a Merry Christmas. I'll talk to you all very soon.
Have a great New Year. We'll see you guys on the other side.
I'm Eduardo.
Oh, God. All right. See y'all later.
Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. Happy Pastivus.
Yeah.
And remember, guys, be human, be nice, love your neighbors, treat everybody with respect. Let's not be that idiot race that destroys the world.
The Trumps out there.
Oh my! Oh, you had to say that. I haven't even clicked end broadcast yet. You had to bring Trump up. I feel like I'm gonna puke.
Man, I got so upset my mustache ran away.
It was
like his hair.
It was the other Phil. This is Phil Offerman. Nick Offerman.
Okay.
Bye. Just put us out of our misery.
I know. I'm ending the broadcast.
Have a good holiday.